Welcome back, Troglodytes, to your daily dose of guitar information, the Trogly's Guitar Show. About 3 weeks ago in the demo shop of Gibson's, we saw them bring out a modern double cut. You know, the things that were first introduced in 2017 and then were quickly discontinued after only about a year or so. And I was kind of poking my viewers to see if anybody had a semi-hollow one, and lo and behold, one of them showed up. He was local enough that I ended up buying 2 guitars from him. We'll see the second one in a little bit, but wait till you see this awesome finish I found. It wasn't what I wanted, but I think it's what I deserved. Love this. So, this is a modern double cut. If you're not familiar with these things, you can check out this other video where I reviewed the non-semi-hollow version. But this one is going to be all about this one. Look at this beautiful blue sparkle finish. It really comes to life in person. Photos do this one no justice. Its official color is called Brunswick Blue Sparkle, and they made very few of these within the custom shop division. This one is a 2018. But let's learn a little bit more about the modern double cut. So in summer 2017, the modern double cut was introduced. Eventually within that lineup, they had standards and custom ones. So like ones that I reviewed earlier, and then ones that have like the custom emblem on the headstock, the full-on blocks. Those are pretty interesting. I still need to find one of those. But everyone was saying, okay, it just kind of looks like a PRS 22/24. Or, in my opinion, it was more so Gibson's way of trying to introduce Tak Matsumoto signature guitars within the USA market. We'll learn a little bit more about Tak in a couple of weeks because I actually bought one of his signature guitars from Japan. But the way I get it is Tak is like the Japanese version of Slash. He has so many signature guitars, and he was well known for using a double cut that looked kind of similar to these things. But market reception at that time, I mean, they sold okay, but they weren't the best. It doesn't surprise me that they only lasted a couple of years. However, in winter of 2018, they introduced this new semi-hollow version. Now, when I normally think a semi-hollow guitar, I think like a 335. Now, those have a multi-ply wood structure to them, so it's a maple poplar maple sandwich for the top, the back, and the sides, whereas this is more like a Midtown custom or an ES 336, meaning it's still solid woods, they just kind of chamber out the mahogany body and put a big old hole in the top to make it look like a semi-hollow, is the way I understand it anyways. I mean, we'll definitely take a look at this thing on the workbench, because I don't think anybody's ever used an endoscope on one of these things on the internet. But if people thought the first ones kind of looked like PRSs, this almost has an exact replica in the Duesenberg lineup. And the reason this looks so close to that besides body shape is the sound hole design. Normally Gibson is very traditional, they just have the F-holes, but this utilizes the eyebrow hole, as they called it. Well, they didn't call it an eyebrow hole, they just called it the eyebrow F-hole. Because, you know, you could put one of those manga eyes right here and you can kind of see what you're talking about. But alternate sound hole shapes always interest me, especially within the brand that I like the most. So just like the solid body ones, these didn't last too long either. Now, Brunswick Blue is a special finish. You did not find many of these. Most of them were available in these 4 colors: white pearl, gray pearl, blue pearl, and pearl coral, all kind of beautiful metallic-like finishes. Besides being semi-hollow, what makes these different from the initial run of these is the fact that they have black binding. Now, I don't know if the black binding works as well on this one, but all the other finishes, since they're a little bit more pastel-like, it pops. This one, it more so hides on this Brunswick Blue Sparkle. But you also have that black binding along the neck that we'll see on the workbench even more clear. As far as I'm aware, they only made standards of these, no customs. And you're going to notice none of these actually have transparent tops. They were all solid finishes. So if you want a quilty and or flame top, you're going to want to look to the standards or the customs. But it still features the same 24 frets to give you 2 full octaves. This is what they call a swept heel design, which is essentially this right here. It goes at an angle. That's not necessarily special, but it's special in Gibson's book. Then, of course, you can't forget the then-new Apex head carve, which is basically a modern-day take on a volute first seen on the Rhino Les Paul Custom. So yeah, it's a beautiful blue guitar. Let's go ahead and throw it on the workbench to take a look at its individual parts and specs, and then we will get to that playing demo. Inside the semi-hollow bowling ball here, that finish really came to life after I polished it just a little bit too. So, you're going to notice our humbuckers are actually a little bit closer together. That's because of this whole 24 fret thing. Sometimes this will happen on SGs when they do it. They essentially just extend the neck and push that neck pickup down. So in turn, you do get slightly different tones out of these guitars due to the pickup placements. Some guys like it, some guys don't. I'm just reporting on it. So as far as our pickups, we have a 57 Classic in the
neck, which is original. And then in the bridge, if we can get to it, it is a 57 Classic Plus, so it should, in theory, be a little bit hotter. Though last time I reviewed these, that wasn't the case, but our bridge on this one's 7.92 k ohms. Our neck position, yeah, 7.71. I don't know what that is on these things. The neck pickups are hotter than the bridges, despite these being pluses. But that is correct. It's not like a reverse wired switch. That's just how it is. But our middle position is 3.93 k ohms. So, just as the spec sheets say, these do indeed have a long neck tenon. That's what that little gap is that you're seeing there. That's the end of the neck in there. There is something I want to point out about this neck pickup though. When it's fully installed, due to this really metallic finish, you can kind of see this little jut of something right there. So I had to take this apart again. It's not really apparent when you take the pickup out, but there is just a little bar of wood right here on the end of the neck that appears to have been left there on purpose to help space that neck pickup correctly. As you can see, there's a gap right there, and they didn't want it right up against the neck, so they have that little piece of wood to space it. I wonder if they're all like that, or if that was just a oopsie, and it just happened to work okay on this one. And this paint is so thick we can't actually see through to the body woods, but it is a two-piece maple top with a mahogany body that's kind of been chambered out semi-hollow style. We'll be able to see more of the body woods once I break out the endoscope and look into the eye hole. But as far as our bridge tailpiece setup, it's actually historically spec'd, so you get an ABR1 bridge that is installed traditionally. So no studs in the body, just the post. And here's what that bridge looks like itself. And then the tailpiece is full weight by Advanced Plating Incorporated. Let's just take a second to really appreciate the large metal flake in this finish. I had definitely seen these before this was offered, but I'd kind of forgotten about them. I was talking to my buddy in the custom shop. He said they did not make many in this finish. So how many is that? I really don't know, but just a handful because it's hard to even find any of these semi-hollows anymore. But let's talk a little bit about our control scheme. Very simple here. Master volume, master tone for both pickups, and your regular toggle switch. So if you like having your neck pickup set at like 7 on the tone and the bridge full on, yeah, you can't do that with these without modifications. But unlike a Sparkle Top Deluxe, the back and sides are also all sparkly. Now it looks like a darker blue up here just because it's reflecting the light differently. That's just how much this finish changes. It's quite spectacular in person. But I wanted to show you guys the black binding along here. It looks pretty cool. But it does get lost when you're just a couple of feet away because it's only single ply, so you really can't even see it there. But let's go ahead and break out that endoscope. Alright, so the first thing I see is some like uneven sanding right here. It's kind of cool though. It looks like a little bit of flanged figuring. But once we actually get in there, it's just because they kind of beef that area up along the edge. Because what you're seeing here is actually the comfort cut on the back. So that's how they were able to get away with that. But moving up the horn here, you're actually going to notice there is no kerfing in here like we see in like an ES styled instrument. That's because they just took this mahogany and chambered it out as we were talking about earlier. So here we are all the way in the upper bout horn, kind of by the neck on the left side. You can see definitely some splintered woods in here. But it does have a center block just like a 335, so what you're seeing right here is like the neck pickup cavity. And I'm guessing that's just left over from like Les Paul style double cuts that still have a toggle switch right there in that area, because it just goes straight through. Because you don't actually have a bridge pickup cut out right there. But ooh, that's interesting. So it's not actually a complete center block there. I guess they don't have to do that since they just chambered out the mahogany body. So they've pretty much just left a wooden spot right here for our bridge and tailpiece and to put the pickups in. So not a complete one because this is all bare right here. Just a little hump for our strap button like you see all the time on semi-hollows. Now we can see the electronics when we take the back control plate cover off, but we might as well poke around in here while we're at it. So here we are going into the lower bout right here. More wood splintering, but hey, there we go. We can see our maple top. It doesn't look like they bothered to use figured woods on this one. Definitely just a plain maple since nobody's going to be seeing it. But the mahogany does appear to be pretty extra dark and has some pretty cool wood grain. And here you can see where all the pickup wires are coming out. So pretty cool to see inside here. I thought for sure we'd have a complete center made out of mahogany and just be 2 separate chambers, but no. In true custom shop style, they always like to do a complete chambering out system. So I'd say that's a very comprehensive look at this instrument. However, cosmetic condition, there's a few areas on this thing where if you get it in the light just right, you can see like there was super glue or something didn't get fully polished right there. I remember seeing a few spots like that, but honestly, a finish like this hides small blemishes very well, especially those small micro scratches from polishing. But let's move on from the body and check out our neck. So it's still a mahogany neck, despite not being able to see it, with a rosewood fretboard. Again, 24 medium jumbo frets on this, with our acrylic trapezoid inlays. I had just conditioned this if you're wondering why it looks like that. But yes, indeed, just like the rest of the guitar, it does have black binding with the white markers on the side as well. This one appears to be in very clean shape too. Nothing funny with the scale length though, typical 24 3/4 inches and a 12-inch fretboard radius. I measure a nut width of 1.7 inches. That increases to 2.07 by the 12th. A nice big C-shaped neck profile, 0.91 at the first fret neck depth, and then 0.97 by the 12th. Here's what that looks like at the first fret and the 12th fret. Very standard C-shaped neck profile. Moving on to the headstock. Unfortunately, nothing fancy. They're not technically Les Pauls, they're just double cuts. So they don't have any fancy inlays on the headstock outside of the Gibson mother of pearl logo. Although I think a crown would have looked pretty nice on these. But there you can see our truss rod, everything's looking good there, and the cover's just plain. Moving on to the back side, let's check out these features. So here's that tummy cut I was talking about on the front that we could see through that eyebrow hole. Come to think of it, I can't think of many other semi-hollow instruments that have a tummy cut. I'm sure there are some, but it's due to the unique way that they chambered this out instead of the whole form fit thing that they can actually get away with something like that. At least how Gibson builds guitars anyways. So, completely sparkle blue back here. You've got this nice swoop, very reminiscent of like a Gibson M3 and various other instruments. It's just a very clean look here, but there is no binding on the back, so this is not double bound. It's only black bound on the top. But you've got your regular strap buttons in these locations. And it does indeed have a backplate. They didn't have to wire it through the hole on the other side of the thing. But that's just regular custom shop style pots all wired up like normal. It was interesting to see the grounding wire coming out of the maple part right there. So they just kind of drilled through the maple and then the mahogany that gets there, because that eventually leads up to the tailpiece where it grounds off there. But this has the typical Les Paul standard double cut back plate. It's kind of triangular in shape. So here's that swept heel design. Unfortunately, it's not like Axcess carved design. That would have made these things incredibly cool, but no. There's 24 frets on them. Can you get all of them? Yes, but it's really only 100% comfortable up till about the 22nd. Otherwise, you got some body in your way, but it's not that hard to reach over if you're doing this. But we'll take a quick look at the side contour here. So what's really annoying about this guitar to me is dust and debris settles right in here, and you just can't get it out. It's such an extreme angle right there. But there you can see how the heel joins onto the body, and the side profile view swept away. And then just pretty chunky on this side. Sometimes it takes a different angle of looking at the guitar to see other things, but technically the maple cap runs along like right here until it gets there. So this is technically thin binding in the cutaway. So if you look just right, you can actually see a finish check line where that is. It hides pretty good in this large metal flake finish, but it is there, trust me. Suppose we should grab our dimensions of this since you don't see these things every day. Now please do keep in mind it's a carved top, so it's going to vary. But it's about 1.72 inches thick. So not as thick as a full-on Les Paul standard. Those are about 2 inches. But that was right there at the thickest, and these don't quite have as dramatic tops as a Les Paul. As far as the neck, nope, you can't see the mahogany wood anywhere, but you do have that apex head carve as we were talking about. That is such a characteristic 2017, 2018 thing. It was only a few years ago, but it was a very pivotal moment in my career of like making guitar videos and starting to pay attention to new guitars. I kind of have some nostalgic feelings over guitars like these. But there we can see that blue sparkle Rhino horn on this one. And then the serial number is actually done up like this, CS800277. That's right, these are custom shop made instruments. They did not do USA made variations, probably because these didn't sell too well, and we converted into a more traditional ownership of Gibson that didn't want to experiment too much with weird, quirky designs. So who knows? Maybe we'll see these things come back. Maybe we won't. But knowing that this is all chambered out and how they did this, it makes a lot of sense that this was made in the custom shop. These were expensive brand new. I think they're around like $4,500 or something. However, I do believe these are starting to get slightly more popular on the used market because there was like a time when these things were blown out, but now people are starting to forget about the blowout prices and they've been starting to go up. You really don't see the semi-hollow versions too often. You see the standards and the customs regularly enough. So now the biggest difference between this and the solid body versions are our weight. This one weighs about 3 kilograms, or just about 6 pounds 10 ounces. Not too bad. Let's go ahead, plug it in, and hear how this one sounds. Let's go ahead and go through the tones of this. You just heard the neck pickup. Let's do a little bit more on that. Switch to our bridge position. Now we'll try that middle. I like the middle position on this one, extra chimey. Let's go ahead and try some distorted tones. Pretty darn good to me. It's got a nice crunchiness to it, but it has a little bit of airiness to it at the same time. But if you don't want the airiness, just roll down your tone about 3 notches. Gets a little bit more like compressed sounding.
Now that we finally got to try the semi-hollow version of this guitar, what are my final thoughts? I think I actually preferred it over the solid body one. Even though these look like weird double cut guitars that Gibson doesn't necessarily make a whole bunch of, they just feel like a regular Les Paul standard to me. They don't necessarily feel anything too crazy. They're very easy to get in the upper fret access, but honestly, I don't play too much in there, to be honest. But they've got nice big neck profiles. Everything looks about the same from here on down. Like your looking down profile is about the same because you still have that same little cutaway right here. So if you like Les Pauls, and you're interested in trying something just a little bit different, I would suggest these, especially if you need a lighter weight one. It's nice having that comfort cut back here because it really just rests up against you, and then you just kind of have some simplified controls on this. So whether that works for your own playing style or not, I will let you decide. Is it a shape that I think Gibson should bring back? Probably not. It's just one of those quirky late 2017, early 2018 things that they're beautiful in their own right. However, I don't know how much demand there would really be for a mass reissue run of these. Probably better to leave them as limited editions, despite how nice they are. But I did enjoy this, just a tad bit more than the other one, but I think it's because I'm always a sucker for blue sparkle. Blue sparkle anything looks pretty darn cool. And this Brunswick blue sparkle, that's really big sparkle, so this is a very cool one to document. It might not have been my first choice in color, but it's definitely one of my favorites now that I've seen it. Baby blue and baby pink, they're kind of cool in an ironic way, I think, but this is very tasty. All right, troglodytes, I hope you enjoyed checking this one out today. Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe, and we will catch you tomorrow on the next episode. Take care.